Well, they put us on some sort of a local train from Salina to Leavenworth, and the time at Leavenworth went pretty fast. I can't really remember. I know it was confusing to a country boy. So many people, so many buildings, so many this, so many that. And man, you stood in line in one place to get your boots. You stood in line another place to get your underwear. You stood in line another place to get your bedding. You stood in line another place to get your shirts and your caps and so on. Quite a system, though. I wouldn't say that you ended up looking like a gentleman, but you ended up looking like a soldier, and everybody looking about the same. They got us outfitted, and one of the things I remember is the boots. The boots were, up there on your ankle above 2 or 3 inches. Not quite as fancy as a pair of troop boots later, of course. And they were pretty hard, pretty stiff. And yet the cover was just kind of natural leather. Now, the first thing they did is tell you, get those boots buffed and shined. I'm telling you, some people tried burning them. Some people tried all sorts of things. Don't remember what I tried, but I tried to look around and see what others were doing that was halfway working. And you gradually got those boots to look a little more like they were not so new, but looking more like they had a shine on them. I wouldn't say that I made any friends while I was at Leavenworth, but you got acquainted with some people. You began to know this one and that one, and this one and that one kind of knew you. And after that 10 or 14 days, whatever it was, we were there. They put us on another local and headed us to Kansas City. I don't know why in the world they do this kind of timing, but I suppose it's just to get the barracks out and emptied and ready for the next wave. I don't know. But here we are in Kansas City. I can't remember whether it was 5 hours, 7 hours. It was a rather sizable amount of time that we were to get off of this local and then wait and get on to a bigger troop train headed for Fort McClellan, Alabama, Anniston, Alabama. Well, one of the boys said, hey, I live in a suburb out here, and I'm going to go out there, and if some of you guys help share the taxi fee, I'll pay the majority of it. Well, you're welcome to come on out and see where I live. So I was one of the ones that said, well, what the heck, why don't I see a little bit of the big city? After all, this Production Oklahoma had said things had gone as far as they can go in Kansas City. It's dark, We get into the cab, and I'm telling you, I had the impression, it may not have been true at all, that the dadgum streets ran off of a center like spokes of a wheel. And nothing stayed in a straight line, though. You took off, and then you'd bend around, and you'd go off on another one of those streets. Very confusing to a country boy that always thought he could just sense what was north, what was south, and so on. The sun the next morning, we were out at his house, not very long, didn't seem like. I'm sure it seemed like not very long at all to him and his family. And, we had to get back and get on that train. We left, I remember, in the early dawn. And the dadgum sun came up in the wrong direction. First time that ever happened to me, and it really bothered me. I know that that's east, but it's coming up out of the north, I think it was. I don't really remember, but it certainly was. I'd been completely disoriented in all that driving around, riding around the night before. Well, that train they put us on was not a civilian train in any sense of the word. It was an Army troop train. And pretty rough compared to the way the local had looked and the way the doodlebug had looked, and way, way bigger. I don't know how many cars there were, but it was a long train. I suppose what they had done is shipped in kids from all over the northern part of the United States and to make up that troop train. And when they told us, okay, it's your turn to go to eat, Man, we went through car after car after car, and all of a sudden I couldn't believe it. It was almost like you were outside. A very open arrangement, and had these stoves that I believe were burning coal. They weren't electric, I'll guarantee you that. They were burning something that lots of smoke. But obviously experienced cooks doing it, and the food wasn't that bad, wasn't that good. You sure found out right away that the Army cooking is not like your mama's cooking. No reason you should have expected it to be. I do remember writing home later, just sure that those Army cooks were selling the good stuff on the black market and feeding us really bad stuff. I didn't like it. Didn't like that food at all. But when you're working hard, you eat what's put in front of you. And I know I was putting on muscle and putting on weight. Big long train makes a heck of a lot more noise on the rails than any doodlebug or any little local. Clackety, 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 clackety. You just get to feel the rhythm of the click-clacks, day and night. Seems to me that it took us all day and a night to get down to Anniston, Alabama. Got down there, stopped that train, hauled us out into formation, 10 shut. Now you had a duffel bag with this Army issue clothing and stuff in it. And about face marched over some trucks, and they had it all figured out. I don't remember the number, but they put a lot of guys on each one of those big deuce-and-a-half trucks. And off we went to the base, Fort McClellan. And man, they wheeled around through there, and the base looks pretty fancy at the entrance level. Looks a lot less fancy when you get out there where the training's going to go on. Huge barracks, huge barracks. I don't know how many people they put in there, but I'm thinking that a company, 200 people at least, were in one barracks. And the barrack was just as big really as the building, except the latrine, and there was one little corner that had a private room, and I think a private bathroom and shower. I had a refrigerator in there too, for the sergeants that lived right with us. Only they didn't live with us, they lived back there in that corner where they had some privacy. Man, the rest of us, just row after row, and you were assigned to a bunk, and that's where you were, and had a foot locker to put that stuff in that you were carrying around in that duffel bag. No more than got our beds made, they called us back outside and started marching us around, little double time, started to toughen us up and let us know, hey, this is not going to be any picnic. Incidentally, Beetle Bailey, on the comic strip, he always makes it sound like KP's the worst duty in the world. Baloney, the worst duty in the world is cleaning the latrines. Yuck! And you get your turn, all of those. You get to do the latrine duty, you get to do the KP, you get to do some guard duty. You weren't guarding anything, they were training you to be a guard, though. And they keep talking it up. Oh, you better toughen up, you better get in shape, because we're going to run that obstacle course, and it's hell. Finally got to run it, I don't know, second, third week. That first time, I thought it was fun.